Hi, I'm Lena. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the most exciting weekly update I have ever filmed in my life. I knew it was you! I'm wearing my dungarees. Boy and I are picking up Mary from the train station. I am not believing that she's coming until I actually see her. So, yay! I knew it was you! Sorry, my mom was calling you.
Hello. Hi.
Here's some Portuguese treats.
Oh my gosh! So
You can read it.
blind date. From the American Books. Oh no, Book Lover ABC. Oh, the American Book Center. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing one.
I know why you grabbed it.
I'm not taking long. I don't know what you mean. Wow.
I think it's Saturday. We can make screenshots too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, but this is the women's section.
I'm very confused. What a memory.
I think it's a morning outfit though.
This one?
Like not for the morning, but when you're in morning.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Now I got it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm obsessed. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's also about a woman who started the Dickens festival here 35 years ago, and this is her collection.
Look at these editions. Look at those.
So pretty. I've seen it online. I know we have a lot of money.
Let's pretend they're free.
Yeah.
Oh, they're free to look at right now. Oh,
Yeah.
I love these as well.
Oh my god. I need the outfit.
And that baby is holding a picture of that people. That's amazing.
But I like it. All the ordinary things.
I'm not filming at all. No.
I do love that they have all these trinkets. I know.
That will be you one day. Sitting there.
Yeah, excuse me. He doesn't know the story, but...
It looks really weird. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed watching our little excursion with Mary. She came here with family and spent an afternoon at our city. You might know that I have a chronic illness, so for me it wasn't really possible to visit her at where she was visiting in the Netherlands. Believe me, I really wanted to. That just really wasn't possible at this time, so she took the train and visited me. It was so surreal. Yeah, and I'm also like glad she came to visit here because she got to see our home, which was so fun. Just see this library and everything. I have a little clip at the end of this video of Mary living a little bit through my library, but it wasn't really usable footage because I was just all over the place. It was so fun to just spent a little bit of time here. So we picked her up from the train station, and we live quite close to the train station. We had some snacks here. Mary had a blind date with a book with her, so we guessed that together. I think she will add in her video, which is also going up today. And then we got a few gifts for Mary because I was just so honored that she came. I wanted to just thank her and boycott her some things as well. I told her like I had a migraine the day before, so I thought, okay, we are going to our home, we'll eat and we'll see how I'm feeling. And then I was like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. I used medication the day before and I wasn't in too much pain. We drove to the city center. We walked through the most touristy little streets. It's also just this street I like most because it's all old buildings from, gosh, I don't know when, but it's like all intact and it's all very beautifully preserved, and it is touristy, but it's worth it. Like, it makes sense that it's touristy. So we walked through there, we visited a little tea shop, and I got 2 of the same bags of tea, one for her, one for me, so we could exchange thoughts once she was home on the tea, and which we do sometimes, exchange our thoughts on tea. We looked at a very tiny secondhand bookshop, and they had like this box outside with €1 books, and the first book we saw was called Portugal. It was like the first book we saw when we were in the city center. I was like, okay, I'm getting this book. It was in Dutch, so it was definitely a book for me. But Mary paid for it actually because I didn't have any cash. Like, she didn't take my card. I told Mary I bought a memory, which is now in our living room, a book I don't know if I'll ever read, but it's a treasured possession because of the memory. And then something I definitely wanted to do, because we have a little Dickens cabinet in the city where I live. It's open one afternoon a week. Private collection of someone who started a Dickens festival. That's like a really big event that all of Europe goes to every year. I never go because I'm so intimidated by the crowds. It's absolutely insanity, but basically people dress up as Dickens characters and walk through the old city because it has a lot of beautiful old parts. I would love to go someday. I am just too intimidated because the crowds are absolute insanity and it's such a small town. I've never had the courage. But they do have the collection of the woman who started that. And lo and behold, the one afternoon a week they're open was the afternoon that Mary came. So they're only open on Saturday afternoons. And Mary came on a Saturday afternoon. So I was like, okay, we need to go here. And it was so much fun. I thought it was just like one little room with some trinkets because the admission was very low. They had so much more. I think they had a few decorated rooms, one from Great Expectations, one from Oliver Twist. They had a lot of Victorian clothing because they store the clothing that they use for the festival there. And they had a lot of trinkets based on the novels and a lot of editions from Dickens. Also, they had 2 shelves with a lot of editions that they were selling, which I will go back to once I have a little bit more time. Then we had about 45 minutes left. Next to the Little Dickens Museum, there is an English tea shop that is incredibly cute. We just sat down, ordered a pot of tea before we had to leave again for Mary to catch her train in time. It was difficult to see her go because I walked up to the platform with her thinking we still had like a little under 10 minutes. But the train was early. Like, tell me you were in the Netherlands without telling me you were in the Netherlands. A train that's early. And I told her, because the trains are usually very, very busy. I told her, yeah, I want you to wait until it goes, but you really shouldn't. You should get on and get a seat because that can sometimes be challenging. So I just hugged her. I probably squeezed her way too hard because like, you don't know how tall someone is when you've only known them online. And Mary always told me that she was tall, but when we met it was, oh, you're tall for Portuguese women because for Dutch women she's not small but like below average height wise. So she's a good 10 centimeters smaller than I am. So I probably hugged her, squeezed her a little bit too tight. And then I just waved at her when she was in the train. I don't know, it was one of the most beautiful afternoons of my life. Yes, I am crying. It's so beautiful, but also so sad because it might never happen again. I mean, I would love to visit Lisbon, but I don't know if that's in my future. I really want to though. It was just so beautiful because I've known Mary for years, but I've never seen her like with my own eyes in real life. And it was really, really special. But also like I felt like it would be really weird, but it wasn't. It felt so normal because she was exactly like she always is. Like the Mary you see on camera is the Mary she is. And Boy told me when she left, like, you two are really quite similar like not only in our outfits, because we were both wearing dungarees, like in our raincoats. It was like seeing two oversized hobbits walking down the street. Yeah. I don't know, I just felt so at home, and she is as nice and lovely as you think she is, and she's just so pure and so merry. I don't know how else to describe it, but I don't know, maybe I am very different in real life. I have no idea. You would have to ask Mary. I don't know, let's stop talking about it. Alright, this was a beautiful afternoon, and I had a great time, and I've been almost going on for 10 minutes about what we've been doing. It was really beautiful and really lovely, and a lot of memories that I will cherish. Right, before I start crying again, let's talk about books, which I recorded before talking about this because I knew this will be the reaction. Reading wise, I have read 4 books since I last spoke to you. And the first one I did mention I was currently reading it, and that is Young Hag and the Witch's Quest by Isabel Greenberg. This is an Arthurian retelling fantasy historical graphic novel. While this is based on Arthurian legend, it is from the perspective of his evil sister Morgan. That sister is now called Old Hag. And we follow her and her daughter and her granddaughter is called, her granddaughter is called Young Hag and she is called Old Crone, and they are the last witches in England. It is typical Isabel Greenberg to use a existing legend, especially from a long time ago, and to spin the female perspective on it, to be very witty and aware of the patriarchy. 100 Nights of Hero, which is gonna be a movie, I'm so excited, does that with Arabian Nights, and this one does it with Arthurian legend. The main character, Young Hag, is so fun and witty, and especially the grandmother, so Arthur's sister Morgan, loved her as well. I think you would call this young YA, but I think for adults there are a lot of really fun jokes in here as well. The art, like always, I love this art. I will show you a little page from the beginning, so no spoilers, but isn't this just absolutely gorgeous? So the art, like 100%, always love this. This was a little bit slow to get through. I usually with a graphic novel, like I sit and I read it, but this took me multiple sittings, so for that I'm gonna give it a 4-star, because the plot didn't really drive my engagement. It is about Young Hag going on a quest though, and because of that I use it for the buzzwordathon with events, and I feel like a quest is a bit of an event, especially for certain characters in here, but it's also quest is in the title. Going over to the magical readathon, I really had to switch around things because I finished How to Lose a Lord in 10 Days, and I thought that would be a one perspective book. I got a few chapters from a different POV, from the POV from the male main character, so that one didn't count for my single POV prompt, and I used that for a 2025 release. So I needed a new book for the single POV prompt, and that is The Beholders, which I'm only 50% of the way into. This is a historical mystery from the perspective of a servant. I'm really enjoying this one so far, but I will talk to you about that book sometime later. Then we had another prompt with a book I very quickly DNF'd. In that prompt you needed to roll a die, and the die decided how many pages your book should be. So my book needed to be under 200 pages, and I picked a book called French Windows, which I think is a bit of a literary mystery, and I thought, why not? It's on LibreFM. It felt like the main character thought themselves incredibly fascinating and important, and it was a male psychiatrist, so 15 minutes in I DNF'd it. That's not for me, and I decided to read a novella by an author I have been discovering this month, and the novella is called The Chemistry of Familiar Objects by Alexandra Vasti. This author writes mostly Regency romance, only recently publishing, I think, through a publishing house. Maybe a lot of these things were self-published previously. I got this one for free by signing up to her newsletter, which I would highly recommend. So this was 170 something pages, so it counted. It's technically a novella, of course. It's a Regency romance, enemies to lovers. It has an action-packed mystery, and what I also really liked is that the main characters aren't nobility. Follow M and Robert, and they both have a business and they share a building. She has the top floor, he has the bottom floor. She has a chemistry lab, he has a printing press, and in the last 2 years they have been not getting along, mostly because he complains a lot about all the noises, explosions, fires, smells coming from her laboratory, which, like, I'm with him. But then they are at their place of business, there's a break-in, things get stolen, and they together try to find out who stole it, what happened, try to retrieve what was stolen. And then we get an almost Pirates of the Caribbean like action-packed novella, which I just loved. I love it when there's like an action-packed scene combined with forced proximity. This looks very cute, like cover-wise, but this author does write quite a lot of spice. It's not like pages and pages of spice, but there are definitely multiple spicy open door scenes in these books. So if that's not for you, then maybe skip it. But generally, I found this novella really fun. The drama, like, it's there, but it doesn't cut very deep, so it's still just a fun, enjoyable read without sometimes what you have in romance is that the author just throws some trauma at the characters to make them deep. These characters were very real and believable without the author having to do that, which I think is great character work, especially in a romance. The novella was great as it was, and I really enjoyed these characters, especially just the little quirks both of the characters had made them feel very real. I think it's clear that I'm becoming a fan of this author because before reading this, I read a book in her newer series called Earl Crush. And the novella I gave 4 stars. Earl Crush, I gave 4.5 stars. Earl Crush is about Lydia, who is now kind of officially a spinster. She writes anonymous political pamphlets and she is from nobility. Both these characters are from nobility, kind of lower nobility, I would say. Over the last few years, she has had a correspondence with an earl about their political ideas and about all the pamphlets that she writes. She knows his estate needs money. She has money and she wants her freedom through marriage, which always, like nowadays, I find such a weird concept, freedom through marriage. It would give her more freedom than she now has as what she calls herself a spinster. She goes to his estate all the way in Scotland only to find his older brother, who is actually the Earl. He has been lying about who he is and she tries to find out what exactly happened because the younger brother left the estate with something in his possession that wasn't his. Both his older brother and Lydia are looking for him. And again, we have this element of forced proximity and going on adventure and having a shared goal together to try and reach something, which gives such a great plot and motivation to keep on reading next to the romance. And I think I'm really liking that with this author. What I loved about these characters is they were very lovable and not standard Regency. Lydia is a spinster who writes political pamphlets, and the Earl is a kind of character who he's not at all like Bridgerton Earl, which I find a bit annoying in those books. Like, I love the series, but the books, he is very like hands-on with his estate in a way that he doesn't really treat his servants like servants, but more like a family, a friend he has hired for the estate, not really for him. I really enjoyed both these characters in that way. Because this was a full-length novel, there was definitely more space for a romantic and sexual build-up, and I thought it was so well done in this book. It's not necessarily slow-paced, but like perfectly realistically paced as far as you want your romance novel to be realistic. The obstacle that they had, of course, with the brother and not really knowing what's going on, but also not knowing what their feelings are towards each other and what Lydia's feelings are towards the brother, because she did go to him intending to propose marriage to him. So they do develop like a slow romance with some miscommunication, but mostly just with a lot of doubt from both sides. But their attraction is immediate. And maybe it feels a little insta-lusty for some people maybe, but to me it just felt like love on first sight. I know a lot of people don't enjoy the love on first sight kind of things, but I believe it's very much possible, so I don't mind those things. I do like some travel and road trip elements with the romance and the adventure, and there was a lot of travel here which I just adored, and it really adds so much to a standard romance plot to me. Again, because this was a full-length novel, there was more space for side characters, and I know that there's one side character that has their own book that's the newest release, which is a queer romance, which I love, that this author does a bit of everything. There were other queer characters in this book as well that I just loved, and I want so many of these characters to have their own little novella. I don't think they have that, but I would love to read it. Quite a popular new release that I read is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This is I think it came out this month, actually. Yeah, this is the kind of romantasy that I can really get behind, because it feels like we have the gods of Olympus together with the mortal world in a kind of medieval setting. And this is the kind of soft fantasy world that I really enjoy. Our main character is Matilda. She is a goddess, and she meets in his dreams Vincent, who is a mortal boy, and he dreams a lot about Matilda, and she sometimes also actively visits him in his dreams, and they form friendship in his dreams. They have a really strong friendship until in a mortal realm he prays to her, he asks her for her help. They are the same age, by the way. At the same time, there's something happening with Matilda, which means she does not get his message, and then a long time goes past before they seem to meet again. This book had so many elements in it that I found pure perfection. The build-up of the plot worked so well for me because we start with kind of a slow coming of age, very character based, and we have a very plot heavy middle. In a way that it's very plot heavy, it's very adventurous, but in a way that it makes sense for the character and it adds to the character development. And I found it also added to the way that Matilda was built as a goddess and how it is explored that she's not human and that she can take way more than a standard human, but she's also not invincible. And a lot of the plot and responsibility of the plot came on her shoulders without it being a bit of a cheap YA thing like I have to save the world. She is in her mid to late 20s. I guess in this world you have gods, so it doesn't really matter. Their age doesn't matter as much. But I found it believable and fun and adventurous in a way that magic was integrated in these adventures felt very sensible and not like click, I fix everything. Very earthy, myth-based kind of magic, which I really, really love. And the most important thing is that it had no boring battles, which I detest in books and in films, to be honest. I would say my only downside with this book is even though it had a lot of character work, also from Vincent's side a little bit later on, it still felt very surface level. And I've had this before with Rebecca Ross's books, why I can never really rate it much higher than a 4, because I always feel like the characters don't go that deep and they lose some personality and realism within that. Not that I mind a plot heavy book, but the characters are not that convincing and therefore they feel a little bit forgettable. I gave this a 4-star. Rebecca Ross's character work is definitely not my favorite, but I love her writing and I love her world building and I love her action scenes. Would still recommend this, especially if you like Divine Rivals, because I had the exact same issues with Divine Rivals, but if that's one of your favorites, then you will absolutely love this as well. Earl Crush I used for the prompt with a sun on the cover. I asked on Instagram if it was a sun or a moon. Most of you said it was a sun, so I'm taking it. Wild Reverence I used for the prime number prompt. I initially put another book on my TBR, but I was just in the mood for fantasy. I switched most of my TBR around for this magical readathon round, to be honest. And then I believe I have all my prompts except for the Beholders, which is from a diary perspective, so it's definitely single POV. Very relieved by. And then I will have finished my magical readathon TBR, because when it's the 1st of October I will most definitely start with everything Victober. I am planning to go all in because it's such a unique year for me, because I'm a host this year. I still have moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, they actually asked me to be a host, like which is such an honor and such a great opportunity to give it my all this year. I will definitely be going back as well to the Dickens Museum in October. It's only open 1 day a week, so I hope that one of the 4 days they're open in October I feel well enough to go, and then I will like discover all the nooks and crannies that I just wasn't able to discover because Mary was there. Yeah, and I have a lot of lovely plans to do crafts and to bake, and I think I'll try and vlog. We can share some fun Victober things together. If you are a booktuber who does Victober, please remember to tag us all in the description, because sometimes I miss certain videos and I really want to watch everything, but it's a bit hard to keep track if people don't actually tag you. So please do that, because I would love to watch all of your Victober content. Alright, I will see you during Victober. Doei! Welcome to another vlog. Could you move a little bit? You're in the way. I'm trying to film. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry about... Oh, actually, this author is coming to Portugal. That's very interesting.
Hey, which one?
This one.
Oh, let's not pronounce that.
No, that's why I said this author. This